So today we're going to talk about preventative maintenance on your AC system especially. We're going to be focusing on the condensing unit outside, and we're going to talk about your airflow at your furnace as well as the evaporator coil that sits above the furnace. Your AC is designed to remove heat from your home. That heat actually is transferred through your ductwork using your furnace, and the furnace will bring that air across what we call an evaporator coil that in Michigan generally sits on top of your furnace itself. That evaporator grabs that heat, it brings it out here, and then it's dumped into this space here. The condensing unit that sits outside draws the air across it and then, projects the air above. And you want to make sure that your coils are clear of debris. If they get dust and a lot of tree particles, pollen, stuff like that builds up on the coils, it's going to keep this from operating correctly. We want to make sure those are cleared, good to go. The other aspect of preventative maintenance, we want to make sure your refrigerant levels are correct, but we also gain access to the system and take measurements using amp draw on the system as well as resistance. And we want to make sure stuff like your capacitor is correct. Your capacitor changes the way that your voltage goes to your compressor and your fan. So you have two separate components in here that are major. One is the compressor itself, which actually compresses the refrigerant down and helps transfer it from a vapor back to a liquid again to bring that refrigerant inside. And the other is your fan motor that sits on top. If this capacitor is out of variance, it will cause all sorts of issues and strain your compressor and strain your fan motor to the point where it will fail. They're not designed to operate without this capacitor. When we come along, not only do we check amp draws and verify resistance across certain coils, and we also investigate, what your compressor ohms out at. We can perform MEG tests and acid tests to verify that your refrigerant system itself is not contaminated and it's not going to damage and shorten the life of the compressor. But we also measure capacitance on the capacitor and verify that it has enough oomph to it, that cup of coffee, to really get your system going. This is just half of the preventative maintenance we do on your AC system. The other is actually done down at the air handler, the furnace itself. And we want to make sure your evaporator coils are clean, free of debris. And we also want to disinfect the pan that's in there, make sure there's nothing growing in there, no mold spores that are forming that can be sent down your ductwork for your family to breathe. And we also want to make sure that the air is moving correctly. We check the amp draws on the blower motors themselves, and we check the capacitors on those, and we measure static pressures, check your filter, make sure that none of that is restricting the system from getting the heat from your house to the evaporator coil so that we can dump it outside.